Just the smell of weed in someone's car during a traffic stop used to suggest a crime is being committed, but Missouri's Amendment 3 throws that presumption out the window. Here's Kathy Sweeney.
Jeff, one of the questions I've been asked most often as I worked on these reports, what about police K-9s? If they're trained to sniff out marijuana, will local law enforcement agencies still use them? Here's what I learned about that and having legal weed in your vehicle. Finding illegal drugs during a traffic stop in Cape Girardeau often falls to one of the department's 4 K-9 teams. Here, Officer Joseph Whistler and his partner Django show us what that can look like. But the passage of Amendment 3 means changes to city traffic stops, according to Police Chief Wes BLAIR.
So if we walk up on a car and we smell the odor of marijuana, that doesn't give us the authority to now search that car to look for that marijuana unless we suspect that there's something else going on in that car, other narcotics or another crime that's in commission.
The amendment doesn't address K-9s or search by sniff in any way.
Dexter defense attorney and longtime former prosecutor Russ Oliver says use of a K-9 on traffic stops may come down to the dog's training and ability.
When that dog alerts and he sits down, that officer can't talk to that dog and say, hey buddy, are we talking about marijuana or are we talking about methamphetamine, right? So if that dog is trained on marijuana, he no longer can establish the probable cause to search that vehicle because his training doesn't differentiate in the way that he alerts.
Officer Whistler used the smell of methamphetamine for this demonstration. I asked Chief BLAIR if legal weed impacts the need for a K-9 program.
No, absolutely not. Our K-9s are trained to track subjects that have run for us or that maybe have escaped. Or even missing children. They're trained as protection dogs for their handlers, and they're trained for the whole gamut of illegal narcotics.
If we smell the odor of marijuana, then we call for Paco.
Over in Wayne County, Sheriff Dean Finch tells me they'll also keep using their K-9 program. In fact, he hopes to bring in a new dog later this summer. But Finch says he still worries about other drugs being driven into his county.
You could have your little bag of a half an ounce of marijuana laying in your console and 50 pounds of meth in the trunk of your car, and our hands are tied.
And if you think most drivers would not leave their weed out where you can see it, listen to Finch's chief deputy describe a recent traffic stop.
We pulled a vehicle over for speeding, and the person had marijuana hanging from the rearview mirror. The person that was driving, he was kind of proud that we couldn't do anything about it.
I think it would be virtually almost impossible for an officer to develop probable cause to search based on plain view of marijuana. And if he can say, well, that's clearly more than 3 ounces, it looks like 50 pounds of marijuana, right? He still would have to know that that particular driver that has 2 prior civil penalties that probably aren't going to be enforced, right?
In fact, Chief BLAIR says the way Amendment 3 is written, drivers can even go a step further.
Right now, our understanding is that yes, you can drive down the street smoking marijuana. We just don't know. There's nothing in the amendment that articulates whether you can or cannot.
Attorney Russ Oliver says this is another example of the language in Amendment 3 and the need for city and county governments to pass ordinances if leaders want to restrict marijuana use.
This amendment doesn't make driving with it in your vehicle or smoking it while you're in your vehicle or smoking it in a public place illegal. It gives local control to towns and counties to decide whether they're going to allow that or not.
You've heard a lot this week about the differences and similarities between alcohol and weed in Missouri. Both are now legal substances, but while one is regulated by state law and local ordinances, the other is not. Tomorrow night at 10, I'll tell you some of the unique differences between the two and why having a constitutional right to legally use weed does not protect you from some of the consequences. Kathy Sweeney, Heartland News.